Tracy Walters makes a chilling 999 call.
Get off me!
Then, 10 days later, she dies in a terrible car crash. But is it an accident or murder? At a funeral, Tracy's family have no doubt there's a killer in their midst.
The tension was incredible. The anger was unquantifiable.
And I mean, as I walked past, I gave him a filthy look, and he smirked.
He was stood right in front of her coffin. Everybody in that room knew that he killed her.
Tracy Turner is born on the 3rd of September 1965. She grows up in the Wiltshire town of Swindon.
She was lovely, mischievous, and bossy. Oh, very bossy. Even from that age, you know, she was a bossy boots.
She's especially close to her older sister Lorraine, Lainey as she calls her.
She and her sister were virtually inseparable. The only person that was allowed to pick on Tracy was Lainey. Anybody else picked on her, Lainey sorted them out.
I was big sister. If she was bullied, big sister sorted it out. If she was scared and she didn't like school, it was Lainey she ran to, me. Yeah.
As children, they share a passion for horses.
One of my fondest memories is Lorraine and Tracy turning up outside my house with a pony. And I can't have been very old at all. And just saying, come on, let's go for a ride. And just having all the kids down the road, just like, you know, staring at me. I felt like, you know, queen, king of the castle on the pony going down the road.
The two sisters are inseparable, even when Lorraine starts dating boys.
I went to meet her sister, Lorraine, with a view to making her my girlfriend. And Tracy always wanted to be involved. She was always there. She was a lovely kid, a bit mischievous, but who isn't? Very intelligent. She was funny.
David eventually marries Lorraine, but Tracy is less fortunate. By her mid-20s, she's married, divorced, and bringing up two boys on her own.
She was unlucky in love. Tracy was very unlucky in love. She had several relationships, and unfortunately, they all turned bad.
She always tended to get messed about a bit. She picked the bad boys, I suppose.
She was very unfortunate, and she kept saying to me, Mummy, what is it about me that I can't find the right partner? And I, darling, there's nothing wrong with you. It's just the partners that you pick.
Yeah, she liked the good-looking ones, toy boys, I suppose. She liked to party. She didn't act her age. She was always younger in her mind than she should have been, really. You know, going to clubs and things like that. She was full of it.
Tracy gets a job as a driving instructor, and in October 2011, she meets driving test examiner Ian Walters. They start dating, but Ian's not Tracy's usual type.
She gave me a call on the phone and said that she'd met somebody. I said, OK, Trace, here we go again. And she said, no, this one's different.
He seemed quite charming. And the most important thing to me was the look on Tracy's face and the way she was around him. She was so happy. I was just happy for her, thinking, this is good this time, this is good.
First time I saw him, he was upstairs, and I was in the lounge with Tracy talking, and he came down the stairs, and I just looked and thought, good grief. He was definitely different. He was plain, glasses, pot belly, but he seemed to run around after Tracy, and I thought, oh, maybe she has, you know, found a safe bet this time.
Emma Kenny is a psychologist who works with families and deals with cases of domestic violence in her clinics.
Tracy sees in Ian Walters a sure bet. He's dependable, he's an upstanding pillar of the local community, he's got a decent job. So when she reflected on all the relationships that hadn't worked out, he was so different that she potentially felt that he would be her perfect match, somebody she could rely on.
Tracy simply said at the age of 48, after many years of failed relationships, this one's safe. And that was her words. This one is safe.
And I said, what do you mean safe? And she said, he's a little bit older than me, which was a first. He's a driving examiner, so he's got a good job. He's got 2 grown-up children that seem to love him, so he did right there. He attends church, and he's also a church treasurer, so he's safe. In my mind, I thought, thank God for that. She's gone for somebody that's around her age, that doesn't want to party every 2 minutes, that will look after her.
For the first time in a long time, Tracy seems really happy.
I think there was a beginning of some contentment in life. Life is where I want it to be. I've got my hobby, it's secure. I've got my work, I'm secure. And I've got a man in my life who isn't going to mess me about.
Tracy is besotted with her new man, and the relationship quickly becomes serious. But her family are concerned things are moving too quickly.
They met in October 2011, and by the January of 2012, he'd moved into her house.
I said, isn't that a bit quick? And she said, well, we're not getting any younger, Lane. Yeah, it was a whirlwind romance, if you ask me. And I was worried. I was worried.
But Lorraine has moved away from the area. And even when she visits Tracy, the 2 sisters don't get as much chance as they used to talk.
Some days I would turn up at Tracy's place and he wouldn't be there, and it was just Tracy and me, and then that was good. I used to dread him coming home, to be perfectly honest, because it was always Tracy this, Tracy that, Tracy this. Can you do this? Can you do that? I think he resented what Tracy and I had. So it was always him calling her away from me for something.
Tracy comes from a really close family. She spends lots of time with her family. And as the relationship with Ian progresses, this becomes more sporadic. And actually, she becomes more and more isolated, particularly from her sister, who she was really close to. This is typical abuser behavior. Isolate your victim, restrict their support avenues, keep them for yourself.
Instead of slowing down, Tracy announces that she and Ian are getting married.
She was excited about getting married. She was excited about the plans. She was worried that it was too fast. I just told her, don't be silly, just follow your heart. If it feels right, Tracy, go and do it. Yeah, life's too short, go and do it.
Less than a year after they first met, Ian and Tracy get married in Cyprus. For Tracy, it's a fairy tale wedding.
It was an absolute dream wedding. It was a romantic setting. Tracy was head over heels in love with him. I think she thought she'd found Prince Charming. And the sun was setting when they went down to the beach and took the photographs. Next thing I know is Tracy's leaning out with Ian holding her, and she's throwing my flowers into the sea. Apparently, it's a tradition over there. I was beaming because my baby was happy, and he seemed to be happy, and everything was all going honky-dory. And she was gorgeous. I could have cried. I really could. She really thought she was going to be happy ever after.
Coming up, Tracy's happiness proves short-lived.
She was terrified, and I have never seen my sister that terrified in my life.
For many years, Tracy was unlucky in love.
She always tended to get messed about a bit. She picked the bad boys, I suppose.
But then she met church treasurer and driving test examiner Ian Walters.
He was definitely different. He was plain, glasses, pot belly. But he seemed to run around after Tracy, and I thought, oh, maybe she has, found a safe bet this time.
The relationship progresses quickly, and within a year, Tracy and Ian are married.
He seemed to be happy. Everything was all going honky-dory. And I think she thought she'd found Prince Charming.
To the outside world, Ian and Tracy Walters are a normal, loving, newly married couple. Tracy still enjoys horse riding with her cousin Liz. But they don't see as much of each other as they used to.
I just thought that she was enjoying married life, and I just didn't think anything more of it, newlyweds and everything, We'd go around their house for dinner. He'd portray the perfect husband and host, really.
From the outside looking in, everything seems to be working perfectly. He's the doting husband, they appear quite happy together. It's only after a certain period of time that the cracks begin to show. Even the most monstrous and controlling of human beings can be well behaved for a period of time. We always say, don't judge your relationship on the first year, because anyone can act however you want them to act for that period of time. Ian knows how to play a role.
Behind closed doors, the relationship is troubled.
I can't remember exactly when it was that Tracy rang me. It was after they got married. And I was the first person that she spoke to about the relationship. She phoned me up and she was upset. I asked her why she was upset. And she said, I think I've made a mistake. And I said, what do you mean? Why have you made a mistake?
Tracy tells Lorraine that Ian demands her constant attention and wants sex several times a day. If he doesn't get it, he becomes angry and abusive.
She said that to start off with, sex life was really good. But she said, it's getting bad. She said he wants it at least twice a day, if not 3 times. And if I say no, he really gets cross.
He would come home at dinner time just to have sex, and then come home again in the evening and expect sex again. And so it continued.
Ian's behaviour is increasingly volatile, and he started lashing out at Tracy.
I don't know every beating, because Tracy tried not to tell one person too much. So she told me some of it, Liz some of it. We never all knew the whole truth.
It did seem to boil down to the fact that Ian's appetites were higher than hers, and these arguments started if she refused him, if he didn't get enough attention.
It became a drag on Tracy. They couldn't even cuddle without that moving on to sex. And so in the end, she would then sort of, I don't want to cuddle you. And that would then mean rejection to him. And that would, really kick off the arguments and the abuse.
Tracy tries her best to play down the extent of the physical abuse. She tells her family Ian's attending anger management classes, and she's determined to make the marriage work.
I told her that this wasn't normal, and that I was worried about her. And again, she would just play it down and say, Liz, don't worry. He's going for treatment and it'll be sorted. I love him and it's going to be sorted. Don't worry about me.
I didn't want to make things worse. She thoroughly and utterly, wholeheartedly believed that she could change him. Wholeheartedly.
She didn't want to leave him. She wanted to fix him. She loved him. She tolerated it.
It's Tracy and Ian's first wedding anniversary. They go on holiday to celebrate. But when they're back, Tracy tells Liz they've had another row.
She told me about an argument that they'd had that had led to her actually locking herself in the bathroom of the apartment overnight. She would always kind of play it down as if it wasn't as bad as it was. And then I'm like, well, but Tracy, if it was just an argument, why did you lock yourself in a room overnight?
Tracy's mother starts to notice a change in her.
She went from being happy, smiling, bubbling, laughing, to very withdrawn, very quiet. Occasionally, she would talk, but she could never really talk to me because Ian was always there.
Christmas 2013. Tracy turns up at her mother's unexpectedly. She's distraught and tells her family Ian has lashed out at her, kicking her in the stomach.
And she stayed there for a few days. We all tried to talk her out of going back, but he rang her and texted her, and in the end he coerced her back again with promises it won't happen again, etc. I wanted to be the big sister, and she wouldn't let me. And I regret it. I regret everything. And I have got to live with that.
Tracy goes back to Ian, but warns him if he does it again, she'll call the police. For a few weeks, all is well. Then on March the 11th, 2014, he does it again.
He'd had enough of the separate bedroom situation. He wanted sex, and she didn't. They woke up on the morning of March 11th. He tried to coerce her into sex again. When she got out of bed, you know, the anger started. You don't have to get out of bed that quick. She went down to get a shirt from the laundry room. He followed her. I think she got a shirt out of the washing machine, and he grabbed hold of her, threw her against the washing machine. She had a bruise on her side here, the size of a football, where she'd hit the washing machine. I mean, Ian was a big man. He must be 6'2", 6'3". He must weigh 16 or 17 stone. And Tracy is 5 foot nothing and 9 stone soaking wet. He then grabbed hold of her, walloped round the face. She managed to get up. She managed to push past him, but you know, he followed her upstairs and continued the attack. And she managed to ring the police. I don't know how she managed to do that, but she did.
Caller, this is Wiltshire Police. How can I help? Caller.
My husband just attacked me again. No, get off me.
She's terrified and pleading for help, which quickly arrives.
The police arrived. The first officer went upstairs to Tracy, where she remained ever since the phone call. And the second officer took Ian into the kitchen.
Ian and Tracy are interviewed separately. Ian is cautioned, but isn't arrested. He then leaves for work. Former Detective Superintendent David Swindle has been face to face with some of the UK's most notorious killers. He knows better than most the mindset of a murderer.
Tracy was assaulted, seriously assaulted. She had physical injuries that were obvious to the naked eye. I would expect that Ian Walters would have been arrested to enable further inquiries to be made. That didn't happen.
Tracy is distraught. She meets her sister Lorraine at the stables and starts to tell her about Ian's violent outburst. What happens next takes them both by surprise.
She looked out the door like that, and then she just freaked out, and she shot down into that corner. And I was going, Tracy, whatever's the matter? And he appeared in that there doorway. My sister was hanging on to my jeans. I couldn't move. And he was whining because he thought he was the victim. I couldn't believe it. Just could not believe it. She was just, get rid of him, Lainey, get rid of him. I mean, it wasn't just that she didn't want to talk to him. She was down there because she was petrified. that he was coming after her again. I said, I think you better go. She's mine today, so go away. That day was the first day, not only did I see her scared of him, but I saw her injuries. She had a bruised eye, she had a bruised chin, and she had a massive injury on her right hip. I've never seen anything like that. I was so mad at him for hurting her physically like that, and shocked, really shocked. She was terrified, and I have never seen my sister that terrified in my life. I'll never forget it, never.
Lorraine pleads with her sister to leave him, but incredibly, in the days after the attack, she decides to give him one last chance.
For Tracy, Ian Walters has potential. Yes, he's hit her. Yes, he's a bully. But she's applying that as his extreme. She doesn't see that actually this is the very brink of his behaviour, and his capacity is far darker, far deeper, and far more devastating.
Tracy agrees that the two of them should spend a few days in a cottage in the Yorkshire Dales. It's a make or break holiday.
I was like, Tracy, you cannot be serious. You cannot be going on holiday with this man.
I should have never let her go. I should have been firmer. I should have locked the doors and kept him away. I should have done anything.
The last thing I said to her was, promise me you'll stay safe. I did.
Coming up, Ian and Tracy's marriage takes a dramatic turn for the worse.
They left us in no doubt that this was suspicious.
He tried to kill my sister.
When Tracy met Ian Walters, she thought she'd finally found her perfect man.
Tracy simply said at the age of 48, after many years of failed relationships, this one's safe.
But soon after they were married, he became demanding and violent.
I don't know every beating because Tracy tried not to tell one person too much.
Caller, this is Yorkshire Police. How can I help? Caller.
I had to attack me again.
But despite all of this, Ian convinces Tracy to go on a make or break holiday.
I was like, Tracy, what are you doing? I said, you cannot be going on holiday with this man.
March the 18th, 2014. Tracy and Ian set off on a 5-day break in the Yorkshire Dales.
I did say to her, don't go. Well, you know, stay here. Don't go to it. But she was adamant. She was going to give him one last chance.
It was over. I don't think she seriously expected it to work. But I think it was a way of showing him to finalise the end, if you like.
Just after 10 a.m., Friday, March the 21st, Lorraine gets a text message from Tracy.
He's done it again, Lane. This time he's hurt my back. He said we're leaving today. This was the Friday. They weren't due to come back until the Saturday.
In the meantime, he'd gone down to the cottage owner, said, we've had a massive bust up, we're going home to get divorced.
Tracy sends more messages, including one to her older son. He's driving and volatile. I need him arrested when we get back.
The last thing she said was, I hope to get home by 4 o'clock. And I sent her a message saying, okay, kiddo, I'm going to be sat outside your house. I honestly believed that while she was in the car coming back, she was safe. He couldn't hit her while he was driving.
He knows that this is different. He knows that she has made a decision. His rage was growing and growing and growing, and he was feeling like he had absolutely no control. He was feeling like this was it, and he had to do something to put her right back in her place.
Then, shortly after midday, Ian's car, travelling at 80 miles per hour, swerves off the motorway, ploughs through the undergrowth, and crashes into a tree. Tracy is unconscious. She's cut from the wreckage and airlifted to Coventry University Hospital. Ian's also taken to hospital. Lorraine gets a phone call and is among the first to arrive. She's met by a police officer.
And he just looked at us and he said, there's no easy way of saying this, so I'm just going to say it. We are treating this as attempted murder stroke suicide. He tried to kill my sister.
They left us in no doubt that this was suspicious. This was not an accident. It didn't go off the road because a tyre burst or anything like that. Unfortunately, there was a CCTV camera right on that piece of road.
Tracy's in a coma and clinging to life.
You see everything that's going on. You see all the machines beeping, the monitors going up and down.
And that girl fought for 2 days. The surgeon told us she should never have been airlifted out of that car. She shouldn't have survived.
I sat with her and held her hand as we all did. And we tried to take it in turns so we could all have some time with her.
It's just like you're in a vacuum. It was an awful weekend.
Sunday, March the 23rd, Tracy's losing her fight for life.
She'd had a heart attack. And she's had 2 strokes. Even if by some miracle she pulled through, she would probably always be comatose. She would never be Tracy again.
Tracy's family now face an agonizing decision: whether to switch off the life support machine.
And I said, Trace, we're all here now. We've all got a bit of you, and we all touched her. Obviously, I had her cuddled. And I said, it's down to you. I can't ask them to turn you off. So please, it's got to be your decision. And now it's time to go. And she had one tear come down. I wiped it away. And she left. She died in my arms.
I said goodbye to her. Held her hand. Said, I'll see you soon. I was a soldier. I'd seen plenty of death. But when you know someone, when you love someone, and when it's so pointless, it's extremely difficult to take.
I told her to die. Which was the hardest thing I've ever done.
Ian Walters is now a murder suspect. Despite that, he leaves hospital and as next of kin sets about arranging her funeral. Tracy's family are outraged.
And although under suspicion of murder, somehow, and I'm trying to find out how, her body was released to her suspected murderer.
I don't understand how a legal system keeps, allows a person to keep their next of kin rights when they are the only suspect in a murder investigation.
For the family to see Ian Walters still in control, organising the funeral, attending the funeral, in their knowledge that he was a suspect for murder, that must have been terrible. It was the ultimate control for him. It was the ultimate control.
May the 30th, 2014. Tracy's funeral service and cremation goes ahead. Despite being under suspicion, her husband Ian Walters is present. For Tracy's family, it's the final insult.
We had to go over there and sit down in our pews. It was easy not to look at him. I only had eyes for my daughter's coffin.
He was stood literally 20 foot to my right as the lead mourner in the front row, right in front of her coffin. Everybody in that room knew that he killed her.
But still, Ian had to be mentioned. A loving husband has lost his wife, yeah, because he's murdered her.
The tension was incredible. The anger was unquantifiable. You just wanted to grab the world by the scruff of the neck and scream at it.
And I mean, as I walked past, I gave him a filthy look. He smirked. Literally smirked. I thought, you piece of work. It was not the place to lose it. So I just walked out.
For Tracy's family, Ian Walters' presence is almost too much to bear.
I felt that he was being quite provocative by just standing there as if butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, crying crocodile tears for a woman that he killed. Like he was rubbing our nose in it. I'm here, there's nothing you can do. I've just buried the person I killed. That the disrespect shown, not just to us as a family, but to her, by allowing her killer to stand there. Anger is not the word.
4 days later, Ian Walters is arrested and charged with murder. Coming up, Ian Walters goes on trial, but the ordeal is far from over for Tracy's family.
That nearly took me to breaking point. I came close to breaking.
Ian Walters drives his wife Tracy off the motorway at high speed.
Even if by some miracle she pulled through, she would probably always be comatose. She would never be Tracy again.
After her death, her family suffer another cruel twist when Ian Walters is allowed to arrange and attend her funeral.
I felt that he was being quite provocative by just standing there as if butter wouldn't melt in his mouth, crying crocodile tears for a woman that he killed.
March the 3rd, 2015. Ian Walters appears before Leicester Crown Court and pleads not guilty to murdering his wife. For Tracy's family, the trial is a harrowing experience.
For the first time, we heard the phone call.
My husband just attacked me again.
And how distressed Tracy was. You know, for the first time, we could see exactly how he killed her. And every minute detail of their relationship for the short period of 18 months that they were married came out in court.
Ian Walters claims he can't remember the journey home or the crash.
He tried to say that he had no reason to hurt his wife and that he couldn't remember anything. And that was it. There was no explanation for what he did. He is just, I don't remember.
Evidence from the scene of the crash is examined in court.
You know, I've seen all the evidence. I sat in court for 6 weeks. I saw that video a number of times. There were no brake lights. There was no indication that anything was wrong. There was no slowing down. Yeah, I've got no doubt in my mind he deliberately aimed that truck off the road.
And coming down that motorway, you must have been looking where to do it. What was going through his head? How can anybody do that to somebody they supposedly love?
After a grueling 6 weeks of evidence, the judge says it comes down to 2 key questions.
Did he deliberately drive off the motorway that day? If it's no, then it's not guilty. If it's yes, then ask yourself another question. Did he intend to do his wife serious harm by driving off the motorway? If it's yes, it's murder. If it's no, it's manslaughter.
After just 4 hours, the jury reaches a unanimous verdict. Ian Walters is guilty of murder. He's given a life sentence and will serve a minimum of 17 years.
We just all broke down. Just have that relief that the jury knew what we knew, and that guilty verdict was amazing.
His sentence tells the world that he is guilty and is some justice for Tracy, but it's not justice for us. We will never get Tracy back.
He took her life, and the state should take his. And that's how I feel about it. 17 years, drop in the ocean.
I'm glad he didn't die. I'm glad he went through the trial. I'm glad everybody knows what he did.
He came across as the goody-goody treasurer that was going to look after Tracy. And he ended up a goddamn murderer.
Ian Walters cost this country £1.5 million on a murder trial. He'll cost it another £1.5 million keeping him in jail for 17 years. He will be released almost to the day of his 68th birthday, which he will retire, and we'll keep him again.
The only thing that's really taught me is how to hate.
Every night, I go to bed. And every night, my head spins it over and over again. The 11th of March, the hospital, the trial. It goes over and over and over, and I can't switch it off. Because if somebody dies of an accident, your brain accepts it. If somebody dies of illness, same with old age, we accept it. But murder, I can't accept it.
But the family's ordeal is far from over. Ian Walters owns half of Tracy's house and will profit from any sale.
She bought that house in September 2009 with her own money. And he moved in January 2012, and by March 2012, he had it on a piece of paper, a young 50%.
A murderer controlling half the house and trying to dictate to us what we can and we can't do.
And there's worse to come. Because Ian Walters arranged Tracy's cremation, he officially owns her ashes, even though he's a convicted killer. Tracy's family embark on a battle with the undertakers to get them back.
They just wouldn't let us have them back. The contract was between him and Ian. And we had to break that contract. And good God, I didn't think we were ever going to.
I mean, can you imagine not being able to lay somebody to rest for that length of time? You've won the battle in court, it means nothing. We still had to fight to get her ashes, and that nearly took me to breaking point. And I don't mind admitting that. I came close to breaking.
Ian Walters controls Tracy even when she's dead from his prison cell. He holds her ashes. He still owns half of the home that she bought. Imagine the level of control that he's exerting over her family. Imagine the extended punishment he's given them. That's Ian Walters.
He deliberately held on to those ashes. He knew that hurt. But the law allowed him to do it. The law allowed him to keep hold of her. The law allowed him to cremate her. It was all the law of this country that did it. And the family are left there to try and work a way around it. We're not lawyers. I'm a mechanic. I'm a truck driver. Lorraine's a shop assistant. We're not lawyers.
They eventually win their battle. And on March the 23rd, 2016, 2 years to the day since Tracy died, a family finally lay her to rest.
We got there after a long fight, but we did it. We scattered her ashes. I said a few words, apologising to Tracy for having it taken this long.
Tracy's family is determined that no one should suffer as they have, and are calling for changes in next of kin rights.
Tracy cannot have died for nothing, because that would be too much to bear. If you kill your spouse, you should get nothing. I don't care what you owned before. Even under suspicion, those rights must be suspended, because in the year he was on remand, and up until the end of his appeal, he could have done anything with those assets, and we couldn't have stopped him. We must take away their next of kin rights in domestic homicide. There's a lot at stake.
For Tracy's family, as time passes, memories of their sister, their daughter, and their friend will live on.
I wanted her to be happy. I wanted to be Ron. I wanted him to be the Prince Charming she thought he was.
I'd give anything to see her again. Just for a hug. And tell her that I love her. And I hope she's well.
Tracy is very missable because she was very loud. She laughed loud, she talked loud. She teased you loud. And because she was loud, there's such a hole. She's still my sister. And she'll live on because I will make sure she does.